Coyote Boy, he, they, Texas, remote healing would be so easy to prove if it were true. Hi, Coyote Boy. How are you?
I think so. I'm well. I hope you are well. Kelly, yay science. Yay science.
Yay science.
I'm not familiar with Jimmy Jr.'s work, but I loved your work on Bob's Burgers. Did you?
I've heard. And Jimmy Jr. is not my real name. So I picked it. And then after I picked it and started calling myself that, I learned that there was a character out there. And so it was too late to go back. But Jimmy Jr. is real enough, though. At least it's authentic. At least there's a real Jimmy Sr. It's
a bit of an in joke. Okay, let me get right to the point.
Yeah.
Remote viewing. Remote viewing would be so easily proven if it actually happened.
I agree.
I mean, we would never need to stick a camera up our butthole if remote viewing was a thing. It's like, and it's still incredibly popular on the crazy channels.
Yeah.
I don't know. How did
were you triggered by getting a camera there? Is that why you're so angry? I mean, you were like, "That's it. I'm calling truth wanted."
No, seriously, I find seriously though that is pretty funny. But seriously, I totally agree with you. And I've always thought that remote viewing was nothing but a misinformation program by the U.S. government to use against the Soviets.
Hold on a second. I thought he said remote healing.
It was written remote healing, but he said remote viewing.
Remote viewing. Okay, I don't know that I'm familiar with that. Somebody enlighten me here.
Okay, there was a program, Operation Stargate, that was started by the CIA. Now, in 1962, a book was published that was called something like Psychic Discoveries Beyond the Iron Curtain. And in this book, it was claimed that the Soviets were working on a psychic spy program. So the Americans started working on their own psychic spy program. And they brought in a famous Swedish psychic. I can't remember his name right off the bat. But they brought him in to help run the program. And they... Ingo Swann. Ingo Swann was his name.
Hugo Ivan, yes. Thank you.
And so they brought him in to run the program. People who left the program made claims about the veracity of the program. Like I know one of the things was supposedly they were able to map out a factory in Russia, and actually inside of Russia through this remote viewing that was an accurate map of the inside of the factory. Now, to me, maybe they had a spy in there who was able to map that all out. And they said they were remote viewing it to protect that spy, the identity of the spy. That seems more likely. Like I say, I think it was more of a misinformation program than anything else.
Yeah, that's right. And, things like that are common strategic misinformation attempts, if you will. If one country can get another country to think that country is up to something, then that country will spend more of its time trying to protect against something that's not even really happening in the first place. For example, if there is maybe a satellite overhead and that satellite is looking for something, one country that's being spied on might just do something out of the ordinary and make that the people that are watching try and figure out what they were doing, but they really weren't doing anything in the first place. So yeah, that misinformation is probably pretty likely.
If I could re-enter the conversation just for a second.
Sure. Sorry.
Columbo episode no, you guys are complaining. I'm just trying.
No, it's cool. It's cool. You're good.
From 1989, Columbo faces the guillotine. And it's a wonderful demonstration of how any mid-level magician can do remote viewing. It's a trick. It's a parlor trick. It's not extrasensory bullshit. It's just a parlor trick.
Yeah, it's a mentalism trick. I mean, that's what the Amazing Randy was. He was a mentalist, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, Amazing Randy, I'm not sure he was a mentalist. He was a non-mentalist.
That's what that type of magic is called. Mentalism. You know, you could do sleight of hand, you could do mentalism, you can do prop.
Any magician can do that shit. Let me move on to a revelation that just dropped on me like a ton of tribbles just this week. All the conspiracy theories, almost all the conspiracy theories, alien abduction, Bigfoot, remote viewing, you name it. This is the new science fiction. I'm legally blind, and I've spent a lot of time the last few years looking at classic sci-fi stories. Most of them are horrible. They're really awful, but they have two things in common. We have to explain how we can communicate with the aliens, parentheses, telepathy, and how they can get here, parentheses, faster than light travel. That's what every space denier, flat earther, hollow earth, Antarctica, that's what every conspiracy today depends on, telepathy and faster than light travel. It's the new science fiction, I think.
Yeah, that's a good interpretation. I could go along with that. I'm not going to say you're right, but yeah, it's it's right along the lines of something that's very plausible. So I have a really weird idea about conspiracy theories myself. I have always thought that the conspiracy theories were the conspiracy. They're being spread by people to keep us not trusting our government, because there's been several attempts for corporate takeover of the United States.
I have thought the same. I have thought the same thing. I like that idea. In fact, I'm working on a sci-fi novel in which conspiracy theories are the conspiracy.
Yeah. There's been several corporate attempts to take over the government of the United States in the past. Go look it up, everyone. And if every time they were stopped, Teddy Roosevelt stopped him, his cousin stopped him, and they stopped him every time by using the government. And if people no longer trust the government, they take the power away from the government, then the government's not going to be there to stop the next corporate takeover that happened. So yeah, to me, I think the conspiracy theories are the conspiracy.
I am not crazy about big government, but I trust big government more than I trust big corporations.
All right. So hold on.
They don't.
What do you mean you trust the government? Like you trust big government? What exactly does the government do so well that you trust them?
I said I don't necessarily trust big government, but I trust big corporations much less.
Less. Yeah, I caught that. I caught that.
Okay.
And what they win wars really well and drop bombs really good.
Well, yeah, the military I would say is top notch, but I'm biased.
Just to give you an answer to your question.
Yeah. I'm just saying though, I love Stephen Hawking's quote. If the government is covering up aliens, they're doing a better job at that than they do with anything else. And I feel like that is a very telling perspective of the government.
I love that quote. The one I use, if aliens are trying to stay secret, they suck at it. If they're trying to reveal themselves, they suck at it even worse.
Yeah.
Are they here? Are they not? It's fantasy. It's just fantasy. Bring me a body or a spaceship or some DNA. I'll believe it. If it's credible, I'll believe it. Until then, it's science fiction.
Well, if aliens have DNA, we've got a larger problem to figure out, don't we? I mean, that would be amazing if they had DNA. Something to think about there.
Well, presumably they would have some code that allows them to reproduce.
That's a big presumption.
The story.
That's a big presumption. We don't know that.
It is. It's a big presumption. It's a big presumption also that there is other intelligent life out there. We don't know that. We can't we can't demonstrate it. It could have been wiped out in a war or a plague, or it could have only happened once here on Earth. We don't know that. Yet millions of people are convinced that there are thousands of other intelligent species out there. No proof. No proof.
Yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people are. Coyote Boy, thanks for calling, man. We're getting near the end of the show. I got one more call I want to give a few minutes to, although some of our listeners might not want me to. But I'm gonna give them a chance anyway, and I'm gonna make the same offer to you. Give us a call back.
Read more science fiction.
Yeah, there you go. Definitely.
Probably
because today's science fiction is tomorrow's future, right?
Guys, love you.
Love you too, man. Thanks for calling.